Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special edition of the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show, the CONCACAF Champions Cup Round of 16 second leg review, as we'll take a look at all those matches involving Major League Soccer clubs as they advance into the next round, along with those clubs as well from Liga MX. Once again, you can follow my writings over at Beyond the 90 at beyondthe90.substack.com or at beyondthe90.net. Also locally in New York sports and New York soccer on baddogsports.com. Of course, come on in. The chat room is open here on YouTube. And don't forget to please subscribe for your daily American soccer content. So we've had, in the round of 16, 8 matches. And we've had, simple destructions. We've had victories in the technical sense through away goals. We thought we were going to get a destruction in the second game of a series. Then it became, well, maybe the other opposition will take it on away goals. And then it became, nope, at the death. The destruction was complete, even though on aggregate it's really 5-4 and all that stuff. We'll get to everything. But what I really want to talk about, the naivety of certain clubs from MLS that are in this tournament. One of them, of course, San Diego FC. Now, listen, look, they did their best. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Sorry. They did their best. They tried to go out there and they tried to give it their all. And even though they were able to knock off Pumas in the first round, you have to consistently do it against the better clubs from Mexico, from Liga MX, to be very consistent in this tournament to get to the final. I can definitely tell you, when the New York Red Bulls back in 2018, after they were qualified for the Champions Cup, they had to play Olympia from Honduras, and they did go through easily. They went through easily. It was a 1-1 draw, not in Honduras, but in Costa Rica. At that time, there was some political outcry in Honduras. And so they had to play it at the National Stadium in Costa Rica. But then they came back to Red Bull Arena, won it 2-0, won it 3-1 on aggregate, and everything was fine. Then they had to go play the next round, which was the quarterfinals, against Club Tijuana, the Cholos. And, you got to go down to Mexico for the first leg, and then you have to come back to Red Bull Arena, now Sports Illustrated Stadium, for the second leg. They won it down there 2-0 in Mexico, and then they got scored on in the first half to make it 2-1 on aggregate, but then they scored 3 straight, leveled the score at 1-1, had the 2-goal aggregate lead back, 3-1, then 2 more in the second half to make it 5-1. And then their next opponent was Guadalajara. And Guadalajara is a powerhouse in Mexico. The Guadalajara powerhouse. They could not beat them. They coughed up 1 goal. They never scored any. Came back to Red Bull Arena. They basically just bunkered in by the goal line, by the net, and let Red Bull get all the chances they could get. And they couldn't score any. And that was great managing from Almeida, who was, of course, after his time at Guadalajara, went to become the head coach at San Jose Earthquakes in MLS. So, honestly, it was an amazing game to watch. And it was amazing to see how good of a club Guadalajara truly is. You have to give them credit where credit is deserved. But when you watched what San Diego FC did in the second leg in Toluca, And what FC Cincinnati did in the second leg against Tigres, once again, creativity of some of these MLS clubs is going to get you. They're going to find ways to punish you. But at the same time, nick that away goal, and you put yourselves in a position to take the series, but you're not doing the necessary job to cement the result. That's what you get when you allow the opting around, regardless if you're playing it at home or you're playing the second leg in Mexico. You have to play that game. If it's in Mexico, the second leg, you must, and I stress this, you must attack, attack, attack. You cannot defend an aggregate scoreline because it takes them 90 minutes to put in 4 or 5 goals, and they will go get you. When they're at home, they're comfortable. And that's the fault of Cincinnati for not doing what they did. And we'll get into that with Kenta Hagiwara, who'll join me later very soon. You must go down to Mexico and you must have an attack mentality. An attack mentality. That's what you need to have. And if you don't have that in the stadiums in Liga MX, you're not going to succeed. That's what Columbus did when they went to the final. That's what the Vancouver Whitecaps did before facing Inter Miami in the semifinals, going to play Cruz Azul in the final. You cannot defend, no matter how large or how small your aggregate situation is. You cannot bunker in for 90 straight minutes. It is impossible, especially down there, especially in those stadiums, especially where it's filled from the first row all the way to the last. You have to give them credit for filling it up in a midweek game. You have to give them credit because not only the Tigres did not quit, their fans did not quit. Their fans basically willed them to get the result they needed, to gain the advantage on the aggregate that they needed. Once again, we're not there yet. We need these clubs to be consistently better whenever these matches are played down in Mexico and when they have that advantage in the second leg. You cannot, and I stress this again, you cannot assume it's in the bag. It's not. And this is where you get yourselves in trouble. And even though they were able to pull off that fourth goal on the aggregate and the away goal at the time, threatening Tigres, what they did Cincinnati in that second leg in second half stoppage time was absolutely criminal. Criminal. And this also goes to San Diego fans. You know as well as I do. Any matches in Mexico in the second leg, it's their advantage. But when you coughed up 2 penalties to Toluca, even though you won the match 3-2, that's 2 away goals. You had to be ready to be down there for the second leg. Had to be. And you couldn't do it. And you failed. Now, obviously, this is the club's first time being in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, so I guess we can still give them a bit of a pass, but it's still not good enough. It's still not good enough. And this is why you cannot go in with a bunker mentality from the start of the opening whistle all the way to the final whistle of the match. Cannot happen. It should not happen. you got to go in there and just fight it down there, because if you're not going to play it smart, you're never going to get those results that you think you should get. And that's the truth. You cannot assume it's in the bag. They're coming after you. And they're going to push the ball up the pitch, and they're going to bury it down your throat. If you do not do what certain clubs have done from in the past up till now, you're never going to get through, and you'll never ever get back to the final. Or if you do miraculously get to the final, you won't win the title. This is a hard lesson to learn. And some of these coaches should know this by now. Some of these coaches should know this by now. There is plenty of time to watch this tournament, whether you were in it in the past or not in it, and you watch it, and then you're seeing everything that happens in front of you. You know what's coming. You cannot outsmart Liga MX clubs when they host the second leg down in Mexico. It's impossible. You got to come out with a mentality of attack first, keep attacking second, always attack third. And when you believe that the match is in, you've got the series, it's in your grasp, you haven't allowed a goal, you've scored a couple more goals to add on to the aggregate, then you can start bunkering in and play defense. But you got to make sure that you got them. You got to make sure you got them. And look what happens. San Diego, gone. Cincinnati, gone. But it's okay. For San Diego FC, it's a learning lesson. This is only their second season. It's a learning lesson for them. Cincinnati's been through this whole thing in the past, the last several years. Qualifying for the tournament, whether it be with the Supporter Shield, being in the best, third place position on the Supporter Shield table. They've been here before. They know what's in front of them. It's got to be better. It has to be better. Because if it's not better, well, it's going to happen again and again and again and again. I want them to be successful. I want these clubs in Major League Soccer to represent the sport in this part of the region, this part of the world, on the international stage, and show everyone we can take on these clubs in this competition. Not Leagues Cup. Leagues Cup is a farce. Leagues Cup is a joke. Leagues Cup does not mean anything. This tournament means something. This trophy means so much more than the Leagues Cup that's made out of chocolate and wrapped up in Reynolds wrap foil. That's just to hopefully qualify for this tournament. This thing should have been banned a long time ago. Bring back the CONCACAF League. Let CONCACAF do their job. That's what MLS and Liga MX needs to do. Get rid of this thing. Petition a CONCACAF League tournament from August till November, December, and then whoever qualifies for that goes to the Champions Cup. This has to be better. It's got to be better. And I'm getting sick and tired of seeing these clubs basically come in with a poor game plan and then they just lose it at the end. It was heartbreaking. It was horrible. I felt bad for everyone at San Diego. I felt bad for everyone at Cincinnati. But if you cannot get the tactics right or the game plan right, then you know what? Get out. Gone. Just get out. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a great show for you tonight. Joining me right now to talk about that FC Cincinnati side that gave it a valiant effort in the first leg and almost stole it in the second leg, of course, from Area Sportsnet covering FC Cincinnati. Kenta Hagiwara joined me. Kenta, I know you're probably listening to the my intro monologue there. And look, I'll be honest with you. When you're up 3-0 on the aggregate, and if Pat Noonan is trying to play bunker ball throughout the entire 90 minutes, I'm sorry, that's a loss. That's a loss of giant proportions. And I'm not going to say it, but I'll basically spell it out for you. You got F around, you're going to F out. You're going to F around, you're going to find out. And that's what Noonan did. It really made me upset to see them when you steal an away goal down at the Universitario, and you absolutely have the away goal advantage in 2 legs, and you're thinking to yourself, this is it. Cincinnati's going to do it. They're going to advance to the quarterfinals. This is their opportunity. It's going to happen. And just everything just falls apart within those 9 minutes of second half stoppage time. Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's frustrating, right? I don't even know where the 9 minutes originally came from. Watching the match, I don't really think that was 9 minutes. There wasn't, you look at the first half of that match, I think it was 5 minutes of stoppage time, and there was a significant pause in play because 2 players had a head-on-head collision, and they needed medical treatment. Just a couple substitutions, a couple goals. I mean, the 9 minutes didn't make sense from that standpoint in my eyes, but you can't really argue about that and use that as a reasoning. I think conceding in the 9th minute when you've been defending for so long, I don't think the issue is that you're conceding then. It's the fact that you've been defending from the jump and you really struggled to play at the start of each half. I almost can accept the start that they had to the match, as much as it's annoying. Monterrey have been at home. They don't have the jet lag conversation that we had last week when they were in Cincinnati. They're at home and they get off to a flying start, and then they get a second goal off that momentum. I can accept that. And Cincinnati, to their credit, I guess, if we want to credit them with anything, they settled into the match in the latter half of that first half. And you expect off of that in the second half, hey, let's possess the ball a bit more, control possession. And if you're going to open up the game, maybe try to find that for that away goal in a transitional moment. Instead, you concede 2 goals at the start of the second half, and all of a sudden you're now losing on aggregate. So to me, that's, I think, the most frustrating part of it is you end the half as well as you probably could have given the situation, and then you're unable to duplicate it, and you go right back to the well. And we saw it last year. These 2 teams faced off against each other in the CONCACAF Champions Cup last year, and Cincinnati was up 2-1 on aggregate in Monterrey at halftime, and then within the span of 10 minutes concede 3 goals in the second half, and then they lose. They lose the draw. It's the same issues. I don't know if it's a mental flip of the switch, and they're if that's it, if it's 1 goal goes in and all of a sudden the fans and the environment that they're in Monterrey, it makes it incredibly difficult, and the momentum is what Tigres ride. I can't put I'm sure it's not one thing, but the fact that it continually happens, and you saw it happen in the first half after it happened last year, and you're unable to make the adjustments that it can effectively put the game away in the second half, to me is the more frustrating part than conceding a ridiculous goal in the second half. And I'll also add the fact that the 3 goals that they conceded in the second half, none of them were bad goals. They were all absurdly good goals. If you want I suppose you could use that as an argument and say hey, these were low probability shots that happened to go in. But I'm pretty sure they were outshot 20-10, somewhere around that range. I mean, you were defending the whole match, right? And occasionally you had a spell of 5 minutes where you got a couple shots off, and then once you can see the 4th goal, now you're attacking. So it was really it was very, they were playing scared. I think that's the quote that Pat Noonan used in the match after the loss. And they were playing scared. They were playing to move on, not to win the match. After all this talk throughout the week, last week and early this week, about winning the match in Monterrey, not worrying about the aggregate scoring and trying to win in Monterrey, and then throwing out a lineup in New England in that 6-1 loss where you change 7 of 11 starters. You can't do all that and then put this product on the pitch on Thursday.
No, absolutely not. And that's what really bothers me is that, okay, fine, look, your priorities were this CONCACAF Champions Cup match against Tigres in the second leg down there. Pat has to be better than this. Pat Noonan, look, great head coach. He deserves all his plaudits. Supporter Shield, great job. Had a great run in the Open Cup a couple years back. Great job by him. Great coach. He's all the mentality is there for him to dominate in MLS, and he does a great job in league play. But when you are in a CONCACAF Champions Cup situation and you know who you're facing, you know what the issues are, you know what the problems have been, not just from this situation this year, but like you said, last season, the last several seasons, facing this club all the time. It's not just Tigres, it's Monterrey, it's Guadalajara, it's Club America, it's Santos Laguna, it's Cruz Azul. It's all the top clubs in Mexico. Not even the top clubs in Mexico. It could even be the crappiest club in Mexico, and they still dominate this club because for some stupid reason, Pat Noonan is deciding to bunker ball all throughout the freaking match. And you cannot forget about playing scared. You cannot assume you're going to take it when you know very well they're going to go out there and they are going to punish you every opportunity they have the ball. And it's not just them punishing you on the pitch. It's also that crowd that will push those players to get those goals so they know that they're comfortable. They're not going to get booed. They're not going to get harassed the next day. They're not going to get, because they know what's in front of them. They know who's in front of them. They know what's going on. It's not just a battle against an MLS team. It's a battle against an MLS team and to keep your home fans on their side so that they don't get the ridicule they're going to get the next day. Because if Benke's goal stood and that was the catalyst for that match, you know very well that the next day the Monterrey papers were going to lambaste Tigres throughout the entire season playing Liga MX. You know it, I know it, and we all know it. And to see them, and to see Pat Noonan just absolutely, I don't know what switch he forgot to turn on. But so far, you can't turn on that switch when you're halfway through the freaking match and then assume you're going to now we're going to pour it on. You should have poured it on when the opening whistle blew.
Yeah. I mean, it's spot on, right? Like after the match last week in Cincinnati, when Cincinnati won at home against Tigres, you saw a lot of players talking about how important the quick start was. And they scored early in that match thanks to a mistake at the back. It was a Denke goal earlier in that match. And so, you would assume that mentality carries over into the second match, and it's quite literally the opposite, where you're struggling early in both halves. I would also add that, you sub on Matt Miazga in the second half. I'm assuming he's coming off of a major injury. He's only played 45 minutes a couple weeks ago for FC Cincinnati 2. He's definitely not match fit to play a full 90. Neither was Evander. But I really would have liked to have seen him kind of start the match and kind of set the mentality from the start. Because after, granted, with him on the pitch, they conceded 2 goals in 3 minutes or 4 minutes. But after that, I mean, after he got settled into the match, you kind of saw his direction and kind of the leadership that he provides that back line, and maybe something that Miles Robinson doesn't necessarily have as a trait compared to what Matt Miazga has, that experience and kind of that
maybe
extra
not.
mentality, that oomph, right? Obviously he gets that yellow card, and it's a shame. I would have liked to have seen him more, and obviously you want to see him healthy, but the decision to put him on at halftime, it felt like he would have been better suited as a first 45-minute cameo than a second 45-minute cameo in a match where you're up by so much, kind of just to control the early part of that match and kind of set the tempo going into halftime. But
I mean, to me, that's a desperation sub. To me, that from Pat Noonan, that's desperation. Oh, I got to put Matt in here. I got to put Miazga in this situation. I got to make sure that he can get out there and he can find a way to bully around everyone in the box. Don't take a penalty call, obviously, but find a way to play strong defense. And that cost them. That cost them, this whole situation towards the back end. And what really, really made me upset even more, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you were like hoping and praying it wasn't going to happen, but the way that they attempted to clear the balls out of their end, I mean, there was no authority in clearing the balls out. They didn't bang it down the pitch all the way down. There's a pass here. There's a pass there. Dink, dink, dunk, dunk, dink, dunk, dink, dunk. Oh, now we're going to walk it out. We're going to walk it out of our end and go into the midfield and then boot it down. What is going on here? That's the recipe for disaster. Because I said to myself, that's what I said to myself. I'm sorry. You're letting Tigres taking advantage. You're going to let Tigres take advantage of getting that fifth goal. And it happened at like the 8th or the 9th minute of 9 in second half stoppage time in the second leg. It finally happened. And I'm sitting there and I'm just saying to myself, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. They're going to get scored on, and then they're going to be nobody to blame but themselves. And the one moment where they actually dribbled out of their end and attacked the opposite side of the pitch, what should they have done? Okay, either you go straight towards the box, you go in the box, you beat the keeper, and you get that second away goal. So you got to make them get 3, or you take it to the corner. Either corner, I don't care. Take it to the corner and just, mess around, waste time. Let them come after you. Let them try to get the ball off your foot if you can. If you can call for a foul, if you can get a foul call out of it, congratulations, you did your job. Then you waste another couple more seconds off the stoppage time clock. But no, you can't do that. What happens? I forgot who the player was for Cincinnati, but you decide to boot it from what? 5 yards out, 5-10 yards outside the area? You can't do that. You cannot do that. I don't care how tired you are. I don't care how exhausted you are. You got to know where you stand, and you got to believe to yourself, I need to get this to the corner, or I need to put the shot on frame, force a corner, force something, put them behind the 8 ball, and then you take it short, and then you waste more time and let them rush up to you.
Absolutely. I mean, that shot was, I think the one you're talking about in stoppage time was from Brian Anunga shooting from about like 40 yards out and being well wide. And it's just, to me, it's one thing to blame the players for poor decision. And that's certainly one thing where like that was just a really poor decision by him. And there's lack of composure on the pitch late in the match. And he's a second half substitute and an MLS veteran at this point, playing for Nashville for a long time. It's like you kind of expect him to be a bit smarter on the ball as a midfielder, but obviously that wasn't the case. To me, it was a sloppy game from the start. Passes were going nowhere. They were passing the ball out of bounds after having good spells of possession in the first half. And like to me, it just that. When it keeps happening, regardless of the player, that's a coaching issue. If it's one player making a mistake here and there, that might be an individual issue. If your whole unit is struggling to be composed on the ball, that's a coaching issue. I think there's an inherent like difference between those two. And it was a sloppy game. I think Cincinnati didn't even complete 75% of their passes. I mean, like it's just not good enough, especially when you're on the road, especially against a team that was feeling themselves because they were scoring early. They had the whole crowd behind them. You just can't be doing that. You can't make the mental mistakes. The physical mistakes you can get by, the mental mistakes you can't. And even the penalty that got wiped off for an offsides, I don't know if you were watching the match particularly close in the second half. Anunga, Gidi had a bad physical mistake there on the counter. Anunga fouls the player. I didn't see much contact in it, but there's definitely contact and draws a penalty, and the flag goes up. But that flag doesn't go up. Then it's a penalty. Like it's another, like, you can't be fouling in the box there when it's 4-1. It's just not something you can be doing. So
exactly.
It just wasn't good enough. And to me, obviously, like the New England match over the weekend in MLS was a really disappointing result. The 6-1 loss, get a red card from Dada Valenzuela, all that goes on, right? And some people are saying, they were throwing that match. They were more concerned about CONCACAF Champions Cup. But to me, it feels like when you lose that badly, regardless of who's on the pitch, that mentality is going to carry over, and that's going to bleed into the next match. And it felt like, and Noonan kept saying, "Oh, they were playing scared," all this stuff. But ultimately, when you're on a bad run of form, they needed to go into that New England match playing their best 11, or playing a bit better than they did.
Yeah.
You can't lose 6-1
exactly.
and then expect to do well 4 days later.
No, exactly. And if you want to get some of those players from FC Cincinnati to an opportunity to play in that match, fine, do that. We don't care. But give them the mentality of, we're going into this match hard. We got to go in and we got to play our best. And then we'll move that over from this match in league play to our Champions Cup match down in Monterrey. Look, obviously, I mean, I've never seen anyone get sacked after a horrible Champions Cup loss or a Champions League loss in Europe or a Libertadores match. I've never seen anyone get sacked for this type of fine. I'll say it, malfeasance. If you want to say it, that's fine. But the reality is this: as great as Noonan has been, I mean, in your mind, is the target on his back now from the front office? Is Albright now worried about what's going on here with Noonan, or does he still have confidence that Noonan can turn the ship around? I know there's only Leagues Cup left and the rest of the regular season, but we've already seen Orlando say goodbye to Oscar Pareja after 3 matches. After just 3 matches in a brand new season, say, okay, that's it, we're done. We'll say we've parted ways, but you're done. So, I mean, could we see this from Noonan this season? Could he be sacked in the middle of the year? Or do you think he's still safe?
I think he makes it at least at this point to the World Cup break. I don't imagine that second coming anytime earlier. I think there's definitely going to be his seat's definitely warmer than it was at the start of the season. You pointed out Oscar Pareja. I think the one thing with his situation was, like, there's a lot of change in the roster heading into the season with a lot of players moving on, and they didn't particularly end the season well last season. They started off really poorly. Cincinnati at least made the playoffs last season. Like, I think there's a bit more of consistency, recent consistency, where you would look at what Pat Noonan's done. That resume is going to give him a little longer of a leash. But he's going to have to turn it around, of course, right? Like, that's a no-brainer at this point. He had one of the probably friendliest schedules to start off the season in MLS. He started off playing Atlanta at home, Minnesota on the road, Toronto at home, New England on the road, and now you're playing Montreal at home. That really should have been a great way to start the season in terms of schedule and MLS play. And you're 1 win and 3 losses in the first 4. Now playing Montreal at home on Sunday, a team that kind of, I feel like, tactically speaking, is not gonna be a fun matchup for Cincinnati based off how they've been playing recently. So we'll see. But I'd imagine he has a leash at least through the end. Like, I guess it's the end of May when the MLS season kind of comes to a pause and the World Cup happens. It's I also, the other thing is, this roster is built functionally to benefit Pat Noonan's system, and I don't necessarily know that a new manager coming in this early in the season with like no preseason is necessarily going to be more fruitful in terms of results. And I think you have to look at it kind of with both things in mind, whether it's, can Noonan get better results and better form moving on and get the locker room in the right headspace, and the other part is, can a different manager come in and actually get results, because that's the other side of the coin.
Yep, that's what it is. Kenta, as always, I appreciate your time. I'll talk to you during the season again, as always. Thanks again. Talk to you soon. Rough loss, I know. To me, it just feels like it was doomed from the start. Just the wrong mentality and the wrong tactics from Noonan and the players. They got to be better than this. If they ever do qualify again for 2027, it's got to be better than what we saw, because they this just cannot happen. That they got to have the biggest brain fart in all of brain farts in this region. I mean, look, you're not in the UEFA Champions League. If you're in the UEFA Champions League, it's 10 million times worse, because they'll score 20 on you if you're going to go in like that. Not the 4, 20. You know it. I know it. They know it. And it just can't be done. It just cannot be done. They have to be better than that.
Absolutely. It's a shame. It's a shame
It
how
is.
it kind of reminds me of the Bodo Glimt Sporting match in a way, but we won't get too much into the Champions League stuff that's gone on this weekend.
We'll leave the Norwegians alone on this one.
Yes,
We didn't expect them
indeed.
to make that type of a run, to be honest with you. Cincinnati, though, I expected them to make a run, to be honest. I expected them to make that run. It's just forget it. It just really makes me annoyed to see that type of shenanigans just blowing up in your face. And when you thought you had it with the away goal, and you thought that it was about you're going to steal this highway robbery in Monterey. Nope, the cops nab you and they take the whole loot. So what are you going to do? Other than that, Kenta, thanks again as always. I appreciate your time. I'll talk to you again soon, and enjoy the rest of the season, okay?
Alrighty.
All right, Kenta Hagiwara, area Sportsnet. He also joins us at Bad Dog Sports for Asian football conversation. So always have Kenta, read his stuff there as well if you're an Asian football fan as well. And if you're in Cincinnati, follow him at areasportsnet.com for the Cincinnati section of the website. My next guest didn't join me live tonight, but we did record it. His interview, of course, this is Valair Shabilla of 615 Soccer in Nashville, Tennessee, talking about, who would have thought it, winning the series over Inter Miami on an away goal. 1-1 was the score in the second leg after a scoreless first leg in the round of 16, and they take it on the away goal at Miami Stadium, Inter Miami Stadium. And here he is right now.
And welcome back to the American Soccer Show, the special here, the 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup round of 16 second leg review. Joining me right now for the Nashville SC side of things from 615 Soccer, Valair Shabilla joining me right now. Valair, welcome back. Exciting stuff in the Champions Cup for Nashville. The U.S. Open Cup champions edging out on away goals to the favorites, no longer the favorites, Inter Miami. That was probably the most excruciating match you've ever watched from this club.
It was tough, man. It was a very, very tight affair, as you saw. Honestly, it was in the balance up until the very last kick in both games. Let's be honest here. I didn't think like Nashville got away with one or anything like that. I think both teams missed very clear chances, and both teams, obviously scored just one goal. And I'm not the biggest fan of the away goals rule, but it is the rule currently, and Nashville won fair and square, I think, and you just kind of have to take that and move on. But it's in terms of surprises. I said this before going into this match, like, if this happens for Nashville, if they advance from this round, this is a great achievement for the club history. But essentially, it's not going to deter what they do in MLS. It's not going to deter where they are nationally. If Inter Miami lose out to Nashville, that's a disaster for Inter Miami, because this is clearly the competition they've won from day one. Jorge Mas has talked about it. The coach, the staff, everybody has talked about it. The players, obviously. So knocking them out, I think, was a bigger sort of disaster for Inter Miami than it was even a success for Nashville. But obviously, I think Nashville will take this as something that they can hang on to. And I think this takes them from, MLS sickos have been mentioning Nashville as like an elite team, but the general public maybe just haven't been. And I think this takes Nashville maybe a little bit more into the conscious of the general public, or the general soccer public, if I should say. And something like that. Obviously, this alone won't be it, but I think defeating Messi and Miami is going to be a really big step towards that.
It really is, because, BJ Callahan, to me, I think you know as well as I do with him. I've seen him on the national team, obviously. I know you have as well. And now he's the head coach since these past 2 years so far. He is a quick learner, because of the last time he faced Inter Miami in the MLS Cup playoffs. I think he used that to his advantage on how to, I'm not going to say balance out the situation, but he knew how to defend against Inter Miami. I mean, they're going to get a goal regardless. But I think BJ knew what to do for the rest of the match. Just refocus, reposition, and just go out there. And if you're able to get that goal on the away goals rule, then you'll gain the advantage to advance.
Yeah, that's really it. And shutting out Miami at home was also very huge into contributing to that. And that has to do with BJ and how he sets up his team, obviously. But also has to do with the players. I think when you look at the way that the players and the team as a whole, including BJ Callahan, obviously entered that playoff series against Inter Miami, it was a couple months or a month or so removed from winning the Open Cup. Concentration has kind of been all over the place. Couple of bad results coming in. There's no really form. There were injured players. There's a lot of problems to that. What ended up happening was a lot of panicking moments from Nashville SC. And once they conceded one goal, it was 2, 3, 4, 5, even at home, right? And they were able to beat Inter Miami at home. So I don't want to take that away from them. But in the away games and even in that decision day game, it just wasn't to their best ability, and that had to do with the form they were in, that had to do with the injuries, that had to do with players being tired. Fast forward to this season, things are different. Nashville SC are coming in as somebody who hasn't lost a single game in 2026. Inter Miami started their season with a loss. They came into this with practically no injuries, or at least not to the big guys, right? So that's very important. Everybody's fresh. Everybody just had a preseason that was really positive, that gelled together. Even the new players, the young players, they came in and gelled together. And I think that really played to their advantage. But a lot of that has to do with BJ Callahan. You're 100% right. He is the one setting the atmosphere. He's the one setting the environment for these players to not only flourish on the pitch, but flourish as individuals within each other. And I think that's really what has provided this platform for Nashville SC to level up this season. And like I said, 8 games so far, they've only conceded 3 goals. They haven't lost any matches so far. So really, really positive from BJ Callahan and his staff. I think it all starts from him when it comes to the locker room. He sets the tone. And then obviously you have the captains and all those guys kind of taking charge and being able to welcome in the new guys. Everybody's gelling in. And I think that really played to Nashville SC's advantage versus what you saw in Miami, which was inconsistent results and maybe less of a team environment, I would say.
I mean, I have to admit, I thought losing Jacob Schaffelberg might have been a major cog missing for Nashville going forward this season, but no, it's amazing all the deck being reshuffled, and they're just going out there doing a job, and they're just really looking strong out there.
Yeah, I mean, going in, losing Jacob Schaffelberg was obviously, I don't think, was ideal for Nashville, but then replacing him with an MLS All-Star and an MVP level caliber Christian Espinoza, that paid dividends. That's a move that is it shows intent. We all talked about it when it first happened, but on that right flank, having Christian Espinoza is I mean, no disrespect to Jacob Schaffelberg, but it is just hands down better. And from a product perspective, from a production perspective, and just from overall play perspective as well, Christian Espinoza just fits this team really well. He is a veteran in this league. He knows exactly what to do, and he comes in as a DP, of course, so the money's different there. You're paying him a lot more than you were paying Jacob Schaffelberg, obviously. But if he keeps delivering moments like this one and the one in Columbus away just at the weekend beforehand, I think that money, that investment is well worth it. And kudos to the Nashville front office, but also kudos to Christian Espinoza, right? Because he saw that moment. He had offers from different places, and he talked to BJ Callahan and liked what he said. And that's how we ended up here with him being such a crucial part of this team already 8 games into the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And, once again, he's done very well for Columbus before moving on from there. He's doing excellent work here right now with Nashville, and we'll see what he does for the rest of the season. But for now, just a great, great tie in this series between Inter Miami and Nashville. Obviously, to me, this feels like since the League's Cup final, maybe a couple of years back, there's these epic battles between Nashville and Miami. To me, it feels like this is going to be a derby for a long, long time. Now, we don't know how much longer Messi has and what will Miami do to reshuffle the deck, so to speak. But for me, this feels like, okay, you win the League's Cup, well, then we're going to face you in the Champions Cup. Oh, yeah, you're going to beat us in the Champions Cup, well, then we'll face you in the playoffs. Not the playoffs, then, whoops, sorry about that. if not the playoffs, then maybe the Open Cup one day. I mean, there's a lot of tit for tat going on between these two clubs, and I love it. I absolutely love what I'm seeing. And now you're going to see the battle of the technical areas between BJ Callahan and Javier Mascherano. To me, just feels like this is something brewing that no one expected.
Yeah, I think, and I'll take it back even further. If you go before the Leagues Cup final, these two teams came into the league the same year, and there was a lot of talk about Miami, owned by Beckham, signing Matuidi, signing Higuain, and there was practically no talk about Nashville SC. And a lot of Nashville SC fans and some people who even worked for the club took that fairly personal. And in that first year in 2020 with COVID, with all that garbage that was going on there, Nashville SC meet Inter Miami in the play-in match. And again, Inter Miami coming in with the big stars, Higuain there, Matuidi again, and everybody else. And they come into Nashville and they get smacked 3-1. And Dax McCarty runs past Matuidi, who, Dax McCarty is like the epitome of MLS, right? And this guy is a World Cup winner, and he just goes past him, scores a banger. And I think from that moment on, obviously they have played in the regular season, but that moment kind of solidified that there was a little bit between these two teams more than any other team. And there were always sort of comparisons because they both came into the league at the same time. Obviously, when Messi got there, it changes everything, right? It changes the whole dynamic of the relationship between the two teams, because now Inter Miami is not being looked at as another MLS team. They're kind of looked at as this outside thing, and that's kind of just happens to be in MLS. But I will tell you this. You mentioned the U.S. Open Cup. They've actually played against each other in the U.S. Open Cup. So Inter Miami is the team Nashville SC has played the most, with 21 matches since 2020. And even if you count the 2 USL years before that, Inter Miami will still be the most games that Nashville SC has played. And it has been a battle. It has been a very, very much back and forth. They've played them in every single competition possible. So there is no, unless there's a new competition down the road, there's no other way, maybe like a Club World Cup. That's really the only other way you can play Inter Miami in a new competition. And I think that's kind of brewing. And it's obviously there is a big disdain, I think, from MLS fans in general to Miami. But like I said, with the Nashville fans, it kind of started before the Messi thing. The Messi thing amplified it. And when you think about that final and going to the 11th kick of the penalties and being at Geodis Park and all those things really add to it. And I would say it's veering towards Miami being Nashville's number one rival, because really Cincinnati and Atlanta are the other two big ones that Nashville fans dislike or hate, but there just haven't been that many games of consequences against those two. And where Inter Miami, there's been so many games of consequences against, and I think that really starts to build something.
Yeah, it really does. And, the next opponent now for Nashville in the quarterfinals is Club America from the Liga MX. And it's basically all MLS versus Liga MX right now. What are you expecting again? I think Nashville might have faced them already in the past. I could be wrong, but still, though, it's going to be an epic battle. Obviously, they have Alejandro Zenejas, the U.S. American International, on that club. We all know what those clubs will do in Mexico. What are you expecting with this big matchup now?
Yeah, they've actually played each other twice. And the first one was a friendly, which was called the Leagues Cup Showcase, not to be confused with the new and reformed Leagues Cup. And that match ended 3-3 and went to penalties, where Nashville won in penalties. Wild scenes. And actually, Josh Bauer scored a goal in that. So so he might play in this one too. Who knows? But he's a player who played in both. And then they played again in the Leagues Cup quarterfinal in 2023. And that's the actual proper Leagues Cup. And that match ended 2-2 and went to penalties. It was Samser's debut, which he scored in the 95th minute to take the game to penalties. Just wild scenes. And then that was the game that everybody thought it ended when Jack Mayer penalty was saved. And then 25 minutes later, the penalty shootouts resumed. And there were players fighting, fans running into the stadium, cups being thrown all around the stadium. It was some of the most wild scenes I've seen in my life, let alone on a soccer pitch. It was hands down the craziest thing I've seen on a soccer pitch. But Nashville ended up winning that penalty shootout. despite how chaotic it was, and going through all the way to the final of the Leagues Cup final, which again, they played Miami. So yeah, a bit of history here, which is weird because, like you wouldn't think these two teams would have history. They both kind of wear yellow, so there's that as well. But third time for Club America in Geodis Park. First time for Nashville to play in Mexico. So that's kind of, to your point, we've seen what Mexican teams do in Mexico, and it's not pretty for MLS. So it's going to take a lot of concentration. It's going to take a lot of commitment. And even like we saw with Cincinnati, winning at home 3-0 wasn't even enough against Tigres. So it's like, what are you even going to do, at this point? So I think Nashville is a little bit more organized than Cincinnati at the moment. If they can continue this run until the Club America game, I think they're going to be up for it. But yeah, I can't predict Nashville going through necessarily, but I don't think it will be an easy matchup for Club America.
And before we let you go there, Valair, obviously we're getting to the international break, and Iraq are heading to Mexico to be in the playoff. Of course, they'll face the winner of either Bolivia or Suriname in the first playoff matchup on Thursday, next Thursday, or should I say this upcoming Thursday. And then on Tuesday, it would be the 29th, I believe, of March. Iraq will take on the winner of that one. I know you're excited. You got your plane ticket ready to go. How many Iraqis are there in the U.S. and how many are coming from the country to fly over to watch this?
I mean, there are millions in the U.S. and Canada as well. I mean, it's a pretty substantial diaspora in North America, in both, again, U.S. and Canada. Most Iraqis are in Michigan and in California as well. Those are kind of the big two states. But then Texas has a big population as well. There's, not that many in Tennessee, but we're here, we're representing, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal. I just kind of wish this whole thing wasn't, there wasn't this war going on, because
of course
what it did is that the match was up in the air. We didn't know if the Iraq team is even going to make it to Mexico. And I think a lot of people got discouraged by that and weren't able to travel. And then the events in Mexico just a couple of months ago or last month also didn't help with that. Now, to be fair, the game is being played in Monterrey. Nothing happened in Monterrey. It seems to be safe by all means. However, these things affect the attendance. And I'm not sure just how many of those Iraqis will travel to Mexico. I know I'm going to be there. I know a couple other people who are going to be there, obviously. And I think there's a good amount of Iraqi people in the diaspora from Europe coming in. And again, just not to bring it back to the war, but if that war wasn't happening, there are a lot of Iraqis in the Middle East, whether from Iraq or living in nearby countries, who will also have been here. But unfortunately, they can't get here because a lot of those airlines are closed. A lot of those airports are closed, and it's very hard to get in and out, and very expensive, obviously. So all in all, I'm still very excited. It's not going to be as big of an event as or as big of an attendance as I had hoped and thought it would be. But this is going to be the first time I have actually watched the Iraqi national team live in my whole life. I left Iraq when I was 12, so haven't had a lot of opportunities to do that. And even before I left, Iraq were banned from playing at home, so you never get an opportunity to watch the national team. It's a really weird thing. I'm really excited for it. It's a dream come true for me. If we don't win, I'm going to be not in the best of moods, but I guess I'll see what Monterrey has to offer in terms of other things to get my mind off of the loss.
Just find a good taco spot for me. That's all I ask.
Yes.
Valair Shabilla from 615 Soccer. Thanks again. Have fun down in Mexico, and hopefully Nashville will be successful against Club America. Thanks again, Valair.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And that is Valair Shabilla from 615 Soccer, as he discusses, of course, Nashville's victory in the away goal against Inter Miami. They advanced to the quarterfinals, and just a great job by them. And then again, you question, with Inter Miami's situation, of course, they prioritized the Champions Cup, and they don't do anything with it. They just don't do anything with it. And it's just really, really disheartening to see that happen for them. But, look, you circled this competition on the calendar. Miami wanted to be something special with it. And what happened? Nope. Goodbye, so long, and sayonara. No goals in that first leg and a 1-1 draw in that second leg. And of course, the away goal helps Nashville move on to the quarterfinals. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do if you're into Miami? And now the questions are being asked towards Javier Mascherano. The questions are now being asked towards, towards the Moss brothers. You said this is the tournament you wanted. This is the tournament you wanted to play in, and now it's just a big pile of shambles, a big pile of absolute shambles. And there's nobody to blame. You wanted it. You wanted this tournament. This was supposed to be the one. This was supposed to be the number one thing that was on the calendar that you wanted. Missed the Open Cup, won the Supporter Shield, won MLS Cup. CONCACAF Champions Cup was supposed to be the one. Put you back into the FIFA Club World Cup. I don't know if they'll be back in the FIFA Club World Cup, but you know what, though? All I can tell you is this. Should have done better. They did not. And they go out. They're over. They're done. And now you got to wonder how you're going to qualify for the tournament next season. Once again, there's Leagues Cup. Get as far as you can in the playoffs or be in that high echelon in the Supporter Shield standings or win the Supporter Shield. And we'll see what happens. But, that's really pretty much a disappointing result for Inter Miami going into that matchup in the second leg. I mean, look, Lionel Messi scores, great, good on him. But it's not just Messi anymore now. Now it's got to be someone else. Someone else has to come in there and put the ball in the back of the net. Messi's only part of it. He's not going to make those long, winding runs from his end of the pitch to the opposition's end of the pitch and then bang it in. Those days are long gone. Those are left over in Barcelona. It's now this Messi in Miami, Fort Lauderdale. So, what are you going to do? There's nothing much more you can say, nothing much more you can do. You just have to hope that for Miami, they try to get back into this tournament if they can. Some say, don't worry, they will be. But hey, listen, you never know. You never know. You never know. Never say no. Believe me, I should know. I've seen it all too much in my life. No matter who you root for, something screwy is going to happen. You watch. You watch. But before I continue on here, there's something I want to talk about with all of you. And regardless of, your clubs currently in the CONCACAF Champions Cup or they're not in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, you hope one day they'll be in the Champions Cup. I'm getting a little annoyed seeing these great stadiums in Major League Soccer not having a sold out house outside of the Pacific Northwest, outside of Seattle, outside of Portland, outside of Vancouver. When it's a midweek match, whether it be a league match or an Open Cup match, a Canadian Championship match, or the Champions Cup match, you guys have to show up just as loud, just as ruckus, and just as large, if not more large, when these cup competitions happen your way, for your club. And if you cannot do that and support your team at the highest level of cup competitions, what are we doing here? I understand. Oh, midweek this, midweek that. It's tough. I got to drive all the way out here, all the way out there, and I got to attend the match. And then when I get home, it's even worse. Pardon me. But let me ask you this, and it's a serious question to all of you watching this show. What about these midweek games that you just cannot make, but you can always make the weekends? Do you watch what goes on in Mexico? I don't care. Oh, there's baseball. Oh, there's hockey. There's the NBA, baseball, the Thursday night football, and all this and all that. You can't do a Wednesday night soccer game. I mean, come on. I've done it. I don't even need permission from anybody. I just go and do it. And, support the team. That's when I was a supporter. Now I'm a media member. But still, though, I get annoyed when you rarely see enough people in the lower bowl or in the upper deck or just the entire stadium altogether. I understand the team is not good, but still, though, if the team is good, it's midweek. I understand, but how about bringing the kids back? Would you please get a chaperone? You want me to be your chaperone? I mean, that's fine. I'll take the job. I don't care. Bring the kids with you. Bring them to the games. It's not that hard, It's not that hard. But apparently it is because, I understand you got to go to work the next day and all that, and that's fine. But that still doesn't mean you can't go to the game, So what can I say? I don't know. But I will say this. Once again, these clubs have to be better coming out of MLS when you're playing down in Mexico, regardless of which leg it is, first or second leg. It does not matter. Play better. Do not assume it's a cakewalk. Do not go out there scared. Be ready. Challenge them. And then you may get a result that you thought was not possible. If you don't think it, you won't overreact to it. Period. But hey, what do I know? I'm just doing a show. I mean, I've seen enough of it. That's for sure. I've seen enough of it. Put that down. Let's go ahead and give you some scores while we wait for my next and final guest tonight. Let's go ahead to the Club America Philadelphia Union matchup. That was a 1-1 draw, of course, in the second leg, and Club America wins it on aggregate 2-1. Rodrigo Durando in the 6th minute made it 2-0 on aggregate with the away goal advantage at the time. And then at the start of the second half, Jesus Bueno gets the penalty and converts it in the 49th minute, and it's 1-1 on the match, 2-1 on the aggregate for Club America, and it's Club America that does the job. Good for them. And so with the next matchup, all Liga MX matchup, we have Monterrey against Cruz Azul. Monterrey does get the early goal first to make the aggregate 4-4, I believe. 3-3. Makes the aggregate 3-3. Cruz Azul has 2 away goals, so the tie goes to Cruz Azul, of course, and they're thinking, oh, we got this in the bag until the second half starts, and then there's Jose Paradella. He comes up big, gets his goal, gets the away goal, and even though Cruz Azul is behind on away goals, 2-1, on aggregate, they have the advantage at 4-3. So for Cruz Azul, they get their away goal, they take it, off they go back home to Monterrey, and it's in their back pocket, and that's all they really needed. So that was pretty good from them. It was really interesting to watch. Here's one that like I said, you got to pay better attention to what's going on. You got to make sure you get the necessary results to move ahead. And this is, of course, as we talked about, San Diego FC falling to Toluca by a final of 6-3. They scored 3 goals in the first leg at home, San Diego, and they allowed 2 away goals. And unfortunately, no challenge. No challenge at all. They tried. But once Jesus Anguello makes it 3-3 on aggregate, it's over. 1-0 in the match, 3-3 on aggregate. That signals, sayonara and hasta la vista, baby. And then from that point on, it just snowballs. Paulino gets his first goal of the match at the 56th minute. Jesus Anguello gets his second of the match in the 59th minute. And finally, Jesus Gallardo in second half stoppage time does the job. 4 straight goals for Toluca FC. And unfortunately for Toluca, Christopher McVeigh, excuse me, got double yellowed, and then the red card came in. And so he is done. And if they do qualify for the Champions Cup, he'll have to serve that 1-match suspension whenever San Diego FC returns to the Champions Cup. So, I mean, look, valiant effort. They did their best. Coughing up those first 2 goals at the stadium in Hartford. And, at Snapdragon, my fault. Sorry about that. I just I mixed up my competitions. San Diego FC does a great job at home. Coughs up those 2 penalties for Toluca. You can't keep putting the referee in the situation where they're going to take advantage of it and give the opposition that opportunity, either it's a free kick or a set piece, because they're going to find a way to bang it in the back of the net. They're going to find a way. They always do. This is why you cannot assume that you're going to advance. This thing should have been over and done with, and it wasn't. It was over and done with by Toluca. That's for sure. So that's all I can say. That's all I can talk about. It's a situation, once again, where, clubs like Cincinnati and San Diego, you cannot be naive in these games, and you cannot have a manager that's going to manage scared. If you do that, well, guess what? It's over. It's all over. Nothing more, nothing less. But once again, folks, this situation for all these clubs in MLS, they got to do better. They got to do better, much better. And, it's a learning lesson for San Diego, that's for sure. This is not a learning lesson for Cincinnati. They should have done better. They absolutely should have done better. But hey, this is the life of being the Champions Cup. You never know what you're going to get. Oh, excuse me. So joining me now, my next guest, he comes from the Pacific Northwest. And this matchup was, of course, you didn't know where it was going to go, but you always know it's going to be exciting whenever Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver get together in a league match or in a Champions Cup match or even an Open Cup match. Throw the book out, throw the table out, throw the chairs out, throw the couch out. It's going to be a knock 'em out, drag 'em out fight. And joining me right now from Cascadia FC, the one and only Michal Martinez, as he talks about this great victory by the Sounders in both legs. Michal, thank you for your time. Hope you're doing all right. You growing a mustache? What the hell's going on?
I am. I'm growing a mustache and a little bit of a facial hair down here too.
Oh, are you? Who'd you lose the bet to?
So there's a story behind it. So my friends are getting married in the summer. It's a 60s themed. So I was like, you know what? Let's grow out the mustache to be funny. They loved it. And now I'm keeping it.
Yes. I've seen some of those old 60 films, though they had crazy mustaches back in the day, that's for sure. But I'm telling you right now, you're growing one like Raleigh Fingers did. I'm gonna yell at you. Don't do that. Don't
Oh,
become
don't worry.
dud.
I'm just getting it super thick, and then I'm going to trim it up a little bit.
All right, all right, all right. Good for you. Good for you. I'm glad to hear that. Let's go ahead and talk about this matchup. Like I said, Vancouver, Seattle. I'm not going to call it a train wreck, but I think someone's going to get wrecked pretty badly, and that was the Whitecaps.
Yes, it was. Honestly, I did kind of feel bad for them because they've been doing so well in the season so far. One of the best defensive teams, best offensive teams in MLS, but like something about when they play against the Sounders, they kind of just fall apart, and I'm mad about it. I love to see that kind of result of 5-1 aggregate. You can't go wrong.
No, can't go wrong at all. I know I couldn't get you last week, but when you saw 3-0 and all 3 goals were away goals, I mean, were you shocked to see how strong Seattle was? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know they're a strong side, and Schmetzer does a great job managing the club, but especially at BC Place, you kind of felt maybe Vancouver might take advantage somewhere.
I was surprised by the result. I wasn't surprised by how the Sounders played, the way we're set up on the counter, like the way the Sounders have been utilizing that low block and then that quick counter, quick transitions have been really good this season. Like I said, I was surprised it's the 3-0 scoreline. By then, I kind of knew the tie was over. I didn't really expect Vancouver. Almost no team can come back from that kind of scoreline, especially when away goals are in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And seeing Seattle, starting off very well. Of course, we all know Jivan Badwal makes it 3-1 on aggregate at the time. And there's nothing you can do about it. You knew Vancouver was going to score a goal. But that second half was really much better from Seattle, and they made sure they put plenty of distance from themselves from Vancouver to advance into the next round.
They really did. And honestly, the change came especially in the 65th minute when Schmetz brought on Danny Musovski, Paul Rothrock, and Peter Kingston. As soon as he made that switch, the entire game flipped on its head. Peter Kingston, the young kid from Coma Defiance, took control of the entire game, and he made it his, and he brought the Sounders a win.
Yes, he did. Absolutely. That's one of the players. There's like 2 players. There's 2 players in American soccer that has the best names, the best last names ever. There's the one guy in the lower levels. His name is Philip Goodrum. So, that's a great name, Goodrum. And then, of course, you have Paul Rothrock, which I love his name. Feels like he's like a rock and roll guy, and he should be more of a musician than a soccer player. But hey, I won't go against that. But that's a great last name. I would love to see
Paul Rothrock with Jesus Ferreira's hair. He has that 80s like hair metal going. Like I would love to see Paul Rothrock have that.
Yeah, no, I would love to see that too. That'd be great. But 5-1 on aggregate, nothing to sneeze at, and just a well thought out match from Schmetzer from start to finish. So, it's just one of those things where I just love what I saw.
Oh, yeah. The way we've seen the Sounders team change its style of play in the past 2-3 years, and the way they can do it on like a flip of a switch is insane. That Schmetz has really brought this kind of culture to the team where every single player will play for him, play for the badge, and commit to that style of play. Like I said earlier, when it comes to low block, the Sounders are playing against the Whitecaps in both legs. We haven't really seen that from the Sounders in the past couple of years since 2023, when they only allowed 32 goals all season in the league. It's just really nice to see the Sounders kind of bringing it back to basics after going all out attacking last season and kind of really hunkering down the defense. And it really helps having Steph Fry back between the sticks, having that veteran leadership, helping the young guys kind of really understand what it means to be a Sounder.
No, it really does. And, once again, Schmetzer, it oozes out of him. He's been part of that team for how long now? I mean, what, 50,000 decades? It feels like it.
He is Mr. Sounder.
I mean, he played for them too, I think, at one point, didn't he, or no?
Yes, he did. Yeah, him and I believe one of his siblings also played for the Sounders, and he's been part of the organization ever since.
Yep, exactly. And look, he knows what to do. I mean, he's got his fingers all over the team. He knows it. He feels it. He does an amazing job managing the Sounders. And I mean, the shame of it is when he does retire. I don't think they'll ever fire him at all. Even if they do have a poor season, I don't think they'll ever fire him. I think they'll let him decide when it's his time to go, and they'll try and bring in somebody else. But without a doubt, Schmetzer's just been one of the better managers in MLS for a long time now, even before when they were in MLS, when they were in USL. So, I mean, hey, I just think I think he just does an amazing job.
Oh, for sure. He's definitely the Mount Rushmore of Major League Soccer coaches. That's for sure.
Yep, absolutely. So other than that, once again, just a great matchup, two fantastic results. But now you're going to have to face Tigres from Liga MX. I don't have to tell you about them. I think you know very well what they're about and how difficult they're going to be. And, I mean, this is a big test. This is going to be a very, very huge test for the Sounders team. I don't know if the Sounders have faced Tigres in the past, maybe once or twice. I could be wrong. You can remind me. It's okay.
So they faced them 3 times, and they faced them 3 times in CONCACAF so far, and they've beat them twice, including knocking them out in, I believe, the 2013 Champions League, and then they only lost them one other time.
Right. So this is the rubber match right here. So we'll see what happens. But when you watch them, I'm assuming you watched them against Cincinnati in both legs. I mean, what did you thought about their performance against Cincinnati in the second leg? Because obviously that first leg was probably a misnomer. It probably was never going to happen again if they come to Seattle. But still, though, what's about Tigres that either worries you or you feel confident that the Sounders will do a better job than what Cincinnati did in that second leg?
I can see the Sounders doing a better job in Cincinnati in both legs because Sounders defense is a lot more organized and a lot more established than Cincinnati's is. But the thing is with Tigres, they have that pedigree, whether it's in Liga MX or it's in CONCACAF. They are one of the all-time best teams in this entire region. And yeah, the Sounders have a good record against them, but this Tigres team, they know when to come together. They know when to start playing. And they showed that in the second leg against Cincinnati. Like, that was a complete dismantling. Yeah, they were at home, so that kind of gives them that advantage. But, like, I think no matter where they go, this Tigres side can do this no matter who they play against.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And obviously, it's not just Gignac you have to watch out for. I mean, it's that entire team. It's really that everyone on that team that's going to find a way to get that ball into the back of the net. And I just think I'm not worried about the tactics from Schmetzer. I know they're going to be grade A tactics, and they'll be a lot better than what Pat Noonan tried to do, because that really annoyed me. Seeing Noonan just basically bunker in basically the entire match until they're like, okay, our backs are against the wall, let's go and attack. When they should have been attacking from the first minute all the way to the last. You cannot bunker in, especially down in Mexico. You're going to lose badly. And when they were down 4-3 on aggregate, of course, they get the away goal. And the way they were defending in second half stoppage time, okay, fine. You can question the amount of minutes being earned for second half stoppage time with 9, but still, though, you can't think and dunk passes or try to build from the back when you got to just boot the ball all the way down the field.
Yeah, you got to bring it back to kindergarten soccer. Like, there's no reason to be trying to play this tiki-taka or whatever else you're trying to do from the back. I mean, we saw this also from Philadelphia the night before in their game down in Mexico. They tried the same thing, but they had everything planned out. It just felt like they knew they weren't in it, and they just kind of said, you know what, screw it. Let's just let them have it. Let's focus on the league. It's fine. But you will get teams like the Sounders, or even against teams like the Whitecaps the other day. Yeah, Sorensen made some subs where it's like, okay, yeah, you're focused on the league now, but like they're still going for it. You have these teams that will go for it every single time, but teams like Cincinnati, Philadelphia, hell, even LA Galaxy, even though they made their way through, they're not really, their mind and hearts aren't really in it. And It's kind of sad.
Mm-hmm. It really is. I mean, Galaxy, obviously, 3-0 over Mount Pleasant. I mean, that Jamaican side's not one of the stronger sides in all of CONCACAF, or club sides in all of CONCACAF. So, we're going to do there. But, I agree. I mean, if you're not going to put your heart into it, if you're going to play scared, then you're not going to succeed. I mean, that's just the plain truth.
100%. And you see, like, then right now, I think the favorites right now, I don't know about what you think, but for me, the favorites right now in this tournament that are left has to be Toluca, Club America, and now the Sounders.
I agree. No, I think I agree there. I mean, LAFC, I'll give them a puncher's chance because they always have that puncher's chance. But if you're thinking realistically, see, you have to say Seattle because they've already won it before. Granted, the Pumas team was not that great, but that doesn't mean anything because it's still a Mexican side. They could have done something to the Sounders in the first leg of that final, and it was a 2-leg affair back then. But they couldn't do it because that particular Pumas team stunk up the joint. That I know, but still, though, you can't take them for granted. You have to go in there and you have to play like, that title means something. You can't just walk in there, we're going to do it, all right, and then whammo, it's all over.
Yeah, like you want to have bragging rights in CONCACAF. Like not many MLS teams have that.
No.
And you would think that more would try to go for it at the very least, but I mean, like I said, I get it. You're already down on aggregate. You know you're not going to come back and win this, but like, at least try. At least show some sort of fight.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're absolutely right. Show some fight. Show everyone what you're made of, and go out there and prove to everyone that you can do it. That's all it is. If you're not going to show the fight, then what's the point of even showing up in the first place?
Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, once again, is this what the feeling is around Seattle right now? It's like, we know what goes on in a league season. I know you're not going to be able to play Open Cup again because of the whole Leagues Cup crap, but still, though, what's the feeling around Seattle right now when it comes to the Sounders? Like, do we have an opportunity to win this title again? Is that feeling into the city right now that there's a possibility of another continental championship?
I think it is. I think because this performance against a regional opponent or regional rival, I think seeing the Sounders win that 5-1 aggregate, do a demolition job, especially in the first leg, I think a lot of fans are excited. They're happy to see the Sounders competing in CONCACAF after going out against Cruz Azul last year in a really, really depressing way, watching two players go down injured. But I think a lot of fans are expecting a decent run in this. Not many fans really care about Leagues Cup unless we're playing against Inter Miami because we all hate Messi and Inter Miami. It's fine. But I think this is on the mind of a lot of Sounders fans right now.
Great. That's great to hear. I mean, look, I take no, I think I've already said this many, many times. I do not see Leagues Cup as a major tournament. I will never tell anyone that the Leagues Cup is a real tournament. It's a fake tournament. It's really full of it. It's just, you just put in what, $2 million, $3 million worth, and that's it. That makes it into a great tournament. No, it's an absolute sham. CONCACAF had to get involved because, this is beyond borders,
Yeah. I mean, you've seen all whether it's on Twitter and Blue Sky, I call it the Mickey Mouse tournament. Like,
yeah.
Leagues Cup is a joke. Like, it's fun that say that we won it, and the Sounders have now won every single cup that they could possibly win imaginable. And it was great to see Messi sat on the pitch up in Seattle. It was great, but the tournament doesn't matter, or at least it shouldn't matter all that much.
No, it really shouldn't. Or I like to say the trophy's made out of chocolate, and it's wrapped up in Reynolds wrap foil. That's what I always say.
I mean, you're not wrong. I've seen it in person. It kind of looks like that.
Doesn't it really? I mean, who makes a trophy like that? I mean, come on. What is that, like a cheap version of the Clarence Campbell Bowl or something from hockey? I mean, come on. It's ridiculous.
I can go get that trophy done better at a little shop in Eugene, Oregon than I can whatever they did with that.
Exactly. It's just a waste. It's just a waste, I mean, look, U.S. soccer can be better at the prize money too, obviously, but I know it's a couple. It's broken up into different elements of who goes the furthest and stuff.
Yeah.
What get a title sponsor for God's sakes?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you get out to do. Just ask for a title sponsor. Yeah. So, what else is going on with you and our wonderful friend in Portland at Cascadia FC? What we got lined up on that website?
We actually have a lot going on right now. So I've obviously haven't been writing as much. I've been taking kind of a step back and doing a lot more admin stuff. But we did launch 2 new podcasts this year. We have a Portland Thorns podcast called the Rose City Breakdown. And we just launched one today called Rain Check, which is our other Sounders writer and Seattle Rain writer, Callahan Blucho. Terrible. He's running that one. So we got some big stuff coming up. Obviously, Jeremy, he's fantastic at covering the Timbers. One of the best in the country, if not the best. Good friend of both of ours.
Exactly. Jeremy's a great guy.
Jeremy's a great guy.
Check
Cascadia is on the up and up. We're officially in year 4, and we have some World Cup coverage coming up as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's going to be fantastic. Did you get your? Were you able to get FIFA media credentials when the U.S. comes to Seattle or to any of those games, or no?
Working on it. It's a whole thing, but yeah, we're getting there.
I know. No, of course. Look, you'll make it. Don't worry. I mean,
we'll be there.
You'll be there. I know you will. I know it'll take time, but I promise you'll make it. Absolutely, you will. But Michael, as always, thanks again for joining me tonight. Hope to have you back on again after the quarterfinals, both legs. And good luck against Tigres. And thanks again for joining me tonight.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Martinez from Cascadia FC, along with Jeremy Peterman. They do a great job covering all 3 clubs in the Pacific Northwest: Portland Timbers, Seattle Sounders, Vancouver Whitecaps, and, of course, the 2 NWSL clubs in the Portland Thorns and the Seattle Rain. So that's exciting, and that's a lot of fun. So here are the remaining 2 second leg matches. Of course, like I said, I couldn't get in time. LA Galaxy, Mount Pleasant, but we all know the score was 3-0. Galaxy in the second leg, 6-0 on aggregate. And once again, there's San Diego FC and Toluca. Just an absolute shambles of a second leg for San Diego. But once again, I give them credit. They tried their best. That's all you can ask of them. And they went out there and did a job. Hopefully they've learned from this little situation and that they can move on into the next time they go to the Champions Cup, and it'll be a lot better than they were before. And finally, of course, what a matchup it was between Costa Rica's LD Aluenza and, of course, LAFC. It was 1-1 in the first leg. It's 2-1 LAFC in the second leg, and the LAFC wins it on aggregate 3-2. Of course, at the time, Aluenza had the away goal in BMO Stadium. Santiago van der Putten made it 2-1 on aggregate with the away goal advantage. And then, as you saw, moving on, it was Nathan Ordaz in the 51st minute that leveled the score with the away goal. So that was 1-1 on the second leg. It was 2-2 on aggregate. And the away goals were even, so that probably meant extra time, but it did not happen because David Martinez steps up big time and gets that big second goal, that second away goal that gives them not only the goal aggregate advantage, but the away goals advantage, even though they didn't need it because they won it on aggregate 3-2. But still, though, getting 2 away goals is big, especially down in Central America, especially in Costa Rica. And those are big-time matches right there. So get ready once again. These are the matchups once again for the quarterfinals. We have Deportivo Toluca of Mexico taking on the Los Angeles Galaxy. We have Cruz Azul of Mexico taking on Los Angeles FC. We also have Nashville SC taking on Club America. And finally, we have Tigres UANL, against the Seattle Sounders in the quarterfinals. It should be exciting. It should be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen there. But once again, I want to thank my guests tonight. I want to thank, of course, Kenta Hagiwara from Area Sportsnet. I want to thank Valair Shabilla from 615 Soccer, and now Michael Martinez from Cascadia FC. My name is Daniel Forrest. Join me this upcoming week. Open Cup review show this coming Monday night. And on Tuesday night, a regular Four Seasons Fire American Soccer show. And get ready for those international games, the playoffs for UEFA and the intercontinental playoffs for those 6 nations from across the continent and across the globe as well. Once again, my name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight for my CONCACAF Champions Cup Round of 16 second leg review show. As always, thank you very much for watching me tonight. And please, 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 please enjoy your football. Thank you. Take care so long. Have a good night. And bye-bye for now. Have a great night, everybody.